They come up the stairwell without hurry, boots speaking the language of iron. Incense rides ahead of them like a second smell of blood. A little brass skull floats at a woman's shoulder, candle stub guttering in its crown. Doors open the way skin splits. I pull Janny down behind a vent grill and set my hand over the ring valve in my throat, hold my breath like I'm hiding a lantern inside my ribs. By the next landing, fire takes the paint first, then the shrines. Hymn voices pour down the well. My filter counts particles like prayer beads. The readout behind my left eye ticks steadily upward. We go on all fours. The passage shakes with controlled detonations 2 floors below. Dust sifts in a slow snow from the ceiling, white at first, then ashen. I taste solvent in it. Good solvent, manufacturum grade. My tongue knows it better than prayers. The black-armored men speak in clipped syllables, every word paired with a gesture. The woman's voice is the only one that bends. Her face is a pale oval inside the helmet's shadow, mouth set, eyes unreadable. Back down, keep low, I tell Janny without moving my lips. The patch of cloth across her mouth darkens as breath damps it. She is small enough to make me think for a heartbeat that if I blur her shape with my coat, maybe they will not find her. This is a foolish thought. I keep it anyway. Keeping it feels like keeping her. At the landing, the brass skull turns our way. The candle on top flares, a thread of smoke making a question mark that dissolves before I can finish reading it. The skull's optics crawl across the grill. You see only darkness or see through me and decide it is not a problem worth spending a second on. It angles away. I hear my heartbeat calming, then rising, then calming again as the auto sense in my left lung adjusts the valve settings to make my breath smaller than sound. People are being pushed down the stairs, eyes turned to the floor, hands laced above their heads the way we were taught during drills we pretended were about gas leaks. It is the same pattern of bodies, the same fear energy. But the attendants here are not in yellow hazard suits. They wear black suits whose smell is oil and hot brass. We join the line by stepping into it without changing our pace. I keep my shoulders slumped, make myself the height the capmasters liked, small, obedient, forgettable. And the woman with the candle skull glances along the queue and then away. I am a workbench in a room full of workbenches. The procession breaks in the courtyard at the base of stairwell C. The rain has stopped, but the steam still comes up from the cracked tiles. There is a line of saints along the far wall, paint bubbled, eyes blackened by smoke. We kneel where the floor is warm. Johnny presses against my side, her forehead against my sleeve. I don't move my arm. If I move it, I will have room to think about what we are doing. A man in a long coat reads from a parchment. He does not shout, his voice carries because everything else has learned silence. He wears the sign I have seen on warrants. A tall letter I with bars like a cage, skull set in its middle. He holds it out like a handle you could lift the whole world with, and people weep when he walks behind them. Maybe they think he is what forgiveness looks like in armor. The candle skull bumps against my ear and sniffs. I taste myself. Even before I came to the manufactorum, I did not smell like other men. Mother said it was the sickness of the lower wells. And the mechanic took me in because my nose knew gases the way his cogitator knew numbers. The filter lung burns bright with caution lights. Now I read what they say. Stay still. Stay still. Stay very, very still. A robed attendant moves along the line, touching each person between the eyes with a spike of cold metal dipped in something that smokes faintly. Those who flinch are shoved forward. The ones who don't are pushed aside. I cannot read the pattern of it. I am good at patterns. This is not a pattern, it is a decision with bones. Janice's hands tremble. I cover them with mine. My palms are scarred from years of dragging steel through acid baths. They are steadier than I am. I breathe shallowly through the valve in my throat, hearing the thin chuff of clean air sliding past the filter mesh. The attendant's metal touches my skin. There is a hiss and the faintest taste of iron. He moves on. The candle skull lingers for a heartbeat as if considering me, then glides to the next head. The woman with the flamer stops 2 places down from us. The barrel is polished. The script burned along it is in a language I never learned, but the curve of the letters feels like scar tissue. She lays her free hand on a young boy's hair. Has no more her son than he is mine, her touch is not comfort. It reads temperature. It reads something I don't understand. She whispers almost kindly, and foreshortened blue light rakes out from the flamer's mouth across his shoulders. The boy stares at his hands as if expecting them to offer a reason. Then the wet, meaty smell of also clean burns the back of my nose. The courtyard tastes of coins. They keep bringing people down. The line moves the way old machines do, reluctant, then all at once. Names are taken. Some are sent left, some right, some kneel where they are and do not get up. I see Marin Harv, the riveter, spit on his palms, laugh once, and swing a fist. He vanishes under 3 bodies and does not come back. The woman's eyes rest on the stump of his left hand when they drag him past. It was our cutter that did it last year. She looks not at the blood but the scar. She files something away inside her face. We are at the head of the line now, and the man with the parchment raises his hand. My name is in my mouth, ready like a coin you pay to cross a toll bridge. Before I can speak, the candle skull turns sharp and hard toward Johnny, as if her breath just hummed in a frequency that bit it. I feel the little jerk in her body the way I used to feel machine couplings pick up or slip. The flamer woman steps in. She has to push me back to reach Janny, and she does. 2 fingers against my sternum without hurry, and I go because to resist is to end. And I have not yet finished making the inventory of reasons I have to live. Her metal thumb presses Janice's lower lip. She looks at the moisture on it for a fraction of a second. Whatever she reads there, the decision is already made. Not her, I say, or mean to say. And the air in my throat is a thread of glass I cannot push sound through without breaking it. Janice's eyes are lake black. She is still arranging a question on her tongue when blue fire erases it. My arms reach without me, pick up a shape that is all light and afterlight. The cloth of my sleeve fuses to my wrist. I know the temperature because the data scrolls past my vision. The numbers mean nothing if they can still climb. The woman with the flamer steps away so her boots do not share my lap. The rosetteman watches me as if I am doing a thing he expects and has less interest in it because of that. Shock is a word people use for the cracked piece of time where nothing fits. For me, it is sound cut blank and a syrup thickness in the joints and the flat insistence of the autosenses in my lungs that say, "You must breathe now or die." I do not want to exchange any more air with this place. The valve opens on its own. I draw in what the world offers. I taste my sister leaving me each time I exhale. Someone pries my hands open. The fused sleeve skin tears. I do not look to see who takes what's left. I've looked enough at brightness. I look instead at the place where the floor has thrown up bubbles in the heat. Every bubble is an eye, and every eye is glazed. They pass me aside with the others they have marked as not yet required to be dead. I sit on my heels against the base of a saint. Its face is a smear of smoke. The words under it are still readable. Purity is duty. I put my forehead against the warm stone until the temperature leaches away what I cannot. Then the loud voice speaks again, and the courtyard divides into those who will be relocated and those who will assist. I become an assistant because my hands are scarred and because when the woman says, "You know the vents," my head nods on a hinge. Maybe I don't want to be shot in the back while thinking of the wrong thing. Maybe I want a corridor and a door that shuts. We carry drums to the lower levels. The seals on them are good. The sponsor who sent them meant them to work. The stenciled words are half buried under transport grime. I read them the way I read broken gauges. The clean smell sharpens. These are old stations. Their stone knows fire. I know where it will pull. On the third run, I catch sight of my own face in a steel plate, bubbled and warped. The eye that shows me numbers glows faintly, like a coal under ash. The other is a pit. I am not a new thing. I am simply the same thing with its paint burned off. This thought keeps my feet from trying to go anywhere useless. In the corridor by the east intake, a servo skull drifts to a stop in front of a woman carrying a child. The skull's auspex flares. The child trembles like a rabbit held too tightly. The woman huffs little breaths that smell of prayer wine. She stares at me the way drowning men stare at driftwood. I shake my head minutely. Do not run. Do not give them a motion to answer. The skull hears the hitch in the child's lungs and makes an elegant turn. The woman relaxes a tenth of a posture. She will thank whatever hears her later. She does not know it is not listening and that it does not need to. We pour the solvent into the drainworks and the hymn books into the same. Fire runs the channels like rats. Smokestacks speak to each other across the block in long, hooting voices. I move by knowing where heat will crescent and where it will caper. My mouth tastes of copper and old batteries. My fingers crack when I close them. White lines split the charred sleeve cloth and show red beneath. The woman with the flamer does not look my way now unless she has an instruction. I become what I have always been between orders. A moving tool. In the ventways, I meet 3 others like me pressed into use. A boy with a butcher's tattooed hands, a blind old man whose ear remembers twice as much as any other's. A mother with one side of her head shaved and scarred, a cable snakes from her skull's seam to a pack at her hip that ticks steadily. She says nothing with her mouth. Her eyes ask everything. I show them the map I carry under my nails. We climb. In above us, the floors thicken. The stone changes color. The dust no longer falls, it hovers, waiting to decide whether it is ash or not yet. I know which louvers will stick and which will bang like a drum if you rush them. I know that at the bend before the water tower, the heat will kick hard enough to slap breath out of weak lungs, and so I warn with my hand. The blind man's ear returns the sound through his body, and he nods as if I have said a sentence. This feels like something I have lost without knowing. A time before words and their debt. A search team passes below, black figures in throttle light. Their boots fall together, a single foot across 6 bodies. We press into a pocket behind the vent curve. The woman's cable clicks louder, and the boy's butcher hands vibrate. I place my own scorched palm over his and give him a pattern that says hold. My hand knows how to tell truths without words. It can say in, out, stay, wait, now. It says them better than my mouth ever could. The team stops. The candle skull nosedives to the grill. The wax around its crown is burned low, tears of hardened fat tracing old trails. It sniffs. It hears our hearts. The woman with the cable closes her eyes as if that will hide what is printed plainly on her skin. The skull angles, edges left, right. I close the valve in my throat hard. The filter thumps. Starbursts jump in my vision. The blind man reaches for my arm and gives a short squeeze. I am still here. I nod. A tiny motion I feel more than make. A klaxon somewhere else cries. The team turns sharp as a flock. The skull drifts after, and the air returns to my lungs with a taste like iron filings. I swallow a cough and it stains my tongue red. We move again. My joints have become their own weights. Each extension is a problem solved mechanically, one after the next. The pipe we need to reach is a narrow thing that carries wastewater out toward the lower ravine. It is rarely used now that the manufacturer moved to a closed system. Still, the skins by it have old marks. My marks, years ago chalk-scrawled as I found what squealed and oiled what deserved kindness. I brush them as I pass and leave ash. At the bend by the tower, everything decides to get worse. A bolt hammer rips air above us, the shockwave throws us flat. In the new dark that follows the flash, I can hear the little drum roll of powdered brick trickling down into hollows. Someone coughs, cannot make it stop, and the blind man's ear tells him the cougher is himself. His fingers furrow at his shirt front as if he can grab the cough and put it back. He wheezes. The cable woman puts her hand on his chest and hums, low and steady, matched to the tick of her pack. The cough dials down, not out, down. I do the math on the pipe. 4 bodies, 1 space fit for 2. The ravine is a drop a long way with rungs the color of rust. We can snake if we flatten. We can do it if no one is broad-shouldered. We are not broad. We are hungry people. We fit ourselves to the world's smallness and go. Halfway, the pack ticks faster. It is running through whatever cycle the cable has told it to do. The woman's jaw tightens, the cable trembles slightly. Capillaries of light ghosting along the skin beside it. I know enough to know what I do not know. I reach for the pack to help. She bares her teeth without looking, tells me no. The pipe sings with vibration, footfalls on metal. The search team is back on the level below. Sound goes up incredibly well. The boy with the butcher's hands is the first to freeze. He hears a woman somewhere scream, and the scream tears something loose in him that glue will not ever put right again. He backs into me. His teeth clack. I press my palm to the nape of his neck. He turns his face into my wrist and sobs dryly once like a hiccup. We move. The pipe complains, then forgives. We reach the waste outlet. The grill is secured with latches whose seals are older than my remembering. I know the model. I know the bolt pattern. My hands move as if they are seeing an old friend they never liked. The solvent we carried earlier slicks the tongue of my mouth still. I spit into my palm. To smear it along the frozen screw caps. They hiss in faint chemical joy. They turn, slow but willing. Then from behind us, a cough the blind man cannot keep down, curlicued, wet. The candle skull peels out of shadow like a fish rising to a lure. The boy shudders. The cable clicks fast as a tiny mad heart. The search team rises in the vent shaft like night with knees. I pick a choice because there isn't a better one. I crack the last latch and jam the grill into its frame so that it looks closed while sitting loose. I whisper to the boy with my palm on his head. Through. He feels the shape of the word and goes. The cable woman follows, her pack dragging against the rim, scraping skin and steel. The blind man hesitates, hand out. I put his fingers to the grill and guide them to the loose part. He nods once and moves like water, and the search team clatters nearer. When I go to follow, the grill snags on my burned sleeve. I tear it. The team rounds the bend. The candle skull's light pencils across my face. My left eye glows, answering it. I look directly at the woman with the flamer. She looks directly back. It is quiet enough to hear the tick. She does not lift the weapon. She measures me. Then she looks down at my hand on the grill and up again at my left eye. And then she steps past, calling orders that convincing pretend to say, "Area clear, move on." She leaves me there on purpose, maybe to see where the pipe spits out, maybe because she can look at me and know I am already used and the flame is for what is not yet. We slither for a long time. The pipe narrows, then opens. The air has the heavy metal taste of the ravine's throat, and it is almost sweet compared to the courtyard. The boy goes first, dropping blind into the dark. The splash when he lands is not deep. The cable woman puts a foot on my thigh to steady herself for the jump. Her heel grinds into a burn I only now notice. pain announces its presence big and clean and childlike. It keeps me company as I ease myself out onto the last rung and let go. The ravine floor is slick with a film that pretends to be water. It carries away ash in slow streaks. Far above, lamps cast a weary cone. The ravine walls are scored with old scorches and newer ones. We crouch pressed to the wall, small enough to be stones. The pipe we left coughs twice. Dust falls out in a lazy spool like a flag forgetting wind. No one follows. We are not worth more footsteps. We run bent, and the ravine joins a feeder that comes out beyond the Hab's authority line. A gate bars it, mesh eaten by rust, lock fused shut by time. I could open it with the right wrench in 30 clean minutes. We have a coin slice of neither. The boy kicks the mesh where it thins. It moans. I test it with my weight, angle, and the rememberings of old metal. It gives 1 bar at a time, hateful but obedient. The cable woman holds the blind man's forearm. He keeps his other palm on the wall, loving the stone like a map. Behind us, something collapses, long and ululating. Sound becomes dust in our mouths. The mesh tears enough. We squeeze out into the boneyard where dead machine casings turn their mouths to the sky. I stop. The habit is to look back. I do it even knowing the cost. Even the upper hab is arrayed in light like a god's smile and in smoke like a god's hair. I hear a last hymn catch and carry. It is not triumphant. It is more like counting. We keep moving because to stop is to ask a question the world is currently busy answering in a language I am not fluent in. The feeder bed becomes a runnel, becomes a ditch. My burned sleeve catches on a thorn of rebar. I leave fabric and possibly skin behind, and the pain itches me into an animal that wants to bite. At the outer edge of the block, a barricade stands, simple and sure. Stacked shields, 2 men with slab pistols, visors down. They wave us to the ground and we obey like the old machines we are. One of them levels his weapon without heat and says, "Keep heads down." He says it like a weather report. And maybe he is used to weather that does not stop just because you ask politely. We crawl. The blind man's ear flicks to aims we can't hear. The pistol lifts, tracks, stills. The shot comes from above us. Someone else, somewhere else, double-tapping a runner that is not us. Dust drops like a hand rubbing a bald scalp. The man with the pistol glances at the glow in my left eye. Some people twitch when they see it. He doesn't. He does not care if I am a machine small enough to fit in a man's head. He cares whether my vector crosses his. We gain the rubble line. The world tilts and becomes less vertical. I can stand upright. My knees shiver with the luxury of it. The boy whispers that he thinks he has left his name behind. The cable woman puts her hand to the side of her skull as if adjusting a stray hair. The blind man smiles, just brief, and the relief across his face simple as light reaching into a room that never had it before. It breaks me the smallest way to see that. End of work bells ring out of sequence. They aren't work bells. They are the bells we were told to ignore unless someone with a better uniform told us not to. The note is low and long, the tone of iron rubbed raw on iron. We stop in the lee of a burnt-out crawler. No one tells us to stand again. We sit by instinct and because everything in us wants to uncurl. The boy keeps his shoulders hunched, guilt of living written bold as the butcher's marks. I want to touch the back of his neck, lay my palm there and say in a pattern he will always know. Still here. I do not. My hands are not the hands you comfort with any longer. They are black tools with pink at the joints. The world grinds into a different gear. Hours, or something that feels like hours later, the light takes a step toward thin gray. The hymn voices do not reach here anymore. The smoke does. It finds us careful as hands, checks our pockets, asks if we have anything else to declare. I take off my coat because its weight asks too much from shoulders that are busy holding the rest of me up. Inside the coat, stiff in one pocket, is the rag of Janice's old scarf. The blue long ago gone to the color of drowned cloth. It smells faintly of oil and hair and warm bread. That last is only imagination. I put the rag between my teeth and bite to feel something that is not heat. The blind man asks for water. There is none. He drinks smoke and makes do. The boy talks to his hands in a broken whisper. The cable woman opens her pack and resets a dial I cannot see. The tick resumes at a slower rate. I will hear it when I sleep. From where I sit, I can see the corner of the courtyard through a wedge between two collapsed walls. A pile of ash does what ash does. It sifts down and then slides, slow like a creature deciding which way is down after its world has been shaken. A bit of metal gleams within the gray, turned cornerwise by some invisible motion. The rosette sign catches and lets go of the weak light. Someone will come for it later. Lay it against a breastplate or a book or a boy's raw forehead, not me. I do not move. When the final detonation comes, it is not loud. It is deep, a note you hear in your bones more than ears. Dust lifts in a single living wave. The crawler's husk shivers, moans, stills. The barricade team does not look back, and the men there look forward with the patience of statues made to hold up the corners of roofs. Something light lands on my hair. For a mad breath, I think snow, and then I laugh inside my burned throat because the thing is the color of bone. I reach up and touch the flake with 2 fingers. It leaves a smear on my skin that never cools while I hold it. My hand hangs there, fingers black with a pale oval in the center, until I remember to breathe out and the white ash shows the line of my breath like thread unspooling from a torn place in the air.